dog, and I am sorry for the holdup. I had in my calendar that this was scheduled for 2, so I just got here a few moments ago. So I'm sorry. I know a lot of you have been waiting, and that is our fault, and I am sorry about that. There was a small piece of miscommunication. But with all that being said, I will try and keep this to a half an hour and keep it on the schedule that we had. We're going to do some questions. I'm going to allow you guys to ask some questions. And then also I want to give you guys the opportunity to see a little bit more about what we're doing, go a little bit beyond what we do when we're at the exchange events and the demo rooms, and just kind of give you guys some backstory about WaterDog and talk a little bit about Workspace as a service, why we're so focused on it, and essentially how you guys can take our knowledge set and actually use that to expand your business and ideally increase your bottom line. So we'll go ahead and kick this off, but before we do, I wanted to actually give you guys a poll question, and then we will go from there. So I'm going to put out a poll question to all of you, and if you guys can answer that, we'll let it go for a few moments. You've got a poll question here for everybody. Oh, wow, look at that. Okay, we'll let it go for a couple more minutes. Not minutes, but basically another 30 seconds. I see 25% of you have voted, 50% of you have voted. We got a 50-50 tie. We got to have some sort of tiebreaker before we end it. So I may end up being part of the tiebreaker. But okay, so we've let our poll go. So it looks like it's a 50-50 split in terms of who the favorite WaterDog is, whether it's Kraus or Moda. That's pretty good answer. So we'll go ahead and get going on this. So basically, on our homepage here, we've got a little picture of a dog moving up to the sky, the kind of the Jefferson's reference. If you guys haven't gotten that, and we use that because we don't like to use the word cloud. That's kind of a bad word here within our office, so we don't talk about the cloud a lot. But we put this kind of intro page together mostly because of a webinar that we did with Synex. I don't know if any of you guys were part of that, but we actually this year we formed a partnership with Synex and to be their exclusive Workspace as a service distributor. And we've been working with their clients. It's really been taking off, and so that's part of why we've got that on here. Additionally, our manufacturer for the software that we use is Itopia, so that's kind of why we've got those couple boxes, and it just describes that a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Now, WaterDog, how did we get started? I'll tell you guys a little bit of the story about how we got started. So basically, I was running a consulting program for one of the largest Workspace as a service, one of the largest managed service providers in Western Massachusetts. They have about 60 employees, so they're a good-sized MSP. And I was with the CEO one night, and I was spending really all day, every day there, and we were having a lot of frustrations with our current vendors. So one night we were having a couple drinks, and don't ever make big business decisions while you've had a couple drinks. But we got into that, and we decided that we weren't really happy with the experiences we've been having with one of our largest distributors. So over the course of that evening, I decided that, you know what, we could make our own distribution company and do a better job out of it than the experience that we had. And the next day, I owned and ran a distribution company. So wasn't always the best choice at the time, but it was a good choice long term. And a little bit of a funny story as well. But the bottom line when we got started is we were selling security stuff, antivirus, email security, backup, disaster recovery. And that really was good. It got us off the ground, but we knew there's something bigger on the horizon that we wanted to really get laser focused on, and that became Workspace as a service. And so really for the past 2 years, our focus has been very much around Workspace as a service, and that's been what we've been doing, and we've really learned how to take MSPs and get them in a very quick fashion to be successful changing this platform or selling this platform, because it really is, it's a shift in how you guys have done things. I mean, it's a very clear shift. It's changing from a model where you're selling these huge, big lump sums every couple of years into a sale that's more of a monthly recurring revenue sales. So I've talked a little bit already about the partnership with Synex, but who is Crash, right? Obviously, some of you guys met me in DC, but at the end of the day, a little bit about myself. I've got 17 years of experience in the technology space. 8 or 9 of those years have been working with as-a-service type models, mostly in the MSP space. So I really understand that shift from kind of on-prem, from owning it, from doing these large sales, these kind of peaks and valley type sales models, into more of an as-a-service MMR type model. And I really, as myself, I'm not a technology person. I know technology. I know how to use technology. I know the technology around what we do, but I really specialize for myself, and I work hard to get this from my team members as well, specializing in helping business in emerging and changing markets. And really right now, when you look at this, this is one of those changing markets. So what are our goals as Waterdog around Workspace as a service? Our goals, and my personal goals, are really to set you guys up for success and put together a plan and a package that puts you guys in a position ready to go out and kill it in your market with Workspace as a service. But more than that, we really want to disrupt the kind of the standard MSP model as well as the standard distribution model, and help MSPs and service providers get over to a monthly recurring revenue type model. Big piece for me is employing strong people, and that doesn't mean the best people in technology or the best salespeople. It means the best people that can go and help you all to be successful, and I think we've done a fantastic job of that. And then also, we like to create environments not just for our employees, but also for our partners that are, fun environments where they not only enjoy working with us. That's a lot of what going to these events is about, but also, that kind of everybody gets to know each other and almost becomes a lot more like family, and we've had a lot of success with that. So what's our value proposition, right, for you guys? And that is, I've mentioned some of this already, but really we are laser focused on Workspace as a service. Yes, there's a lot of other products and things that we still do, that we still sell, but in today's market, we are laser focused, and probably for the next 3 or 4 years, we will continue to be laser focused on Workspace as a service, and it's all we do every day, right? And then for you as an MSP, when you come on board with us and start working with us, we will put together a team that's specifically focused on helping you, and that team includes the sales and support, but it also includes technical support and project managers. So we will help you get off the ground with your first handful of deals. Usually people need some help with their first 2 or 3, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but we're going to give you all the support you need to get off the ground with this. And all those things add up to the fact that we've really cracked the code to being successful with this. And you'll find as you start talking to clients about this, and as you start working with Workspace as a service, that there's a lot of education that has to happen in the market. There's a lot of education that has to happen with your employees and with your clients. And we help you to do that. And we've really got a roadmap built out so that you guys can take basically the prepackage that we've put together and go out and be able to kill it in the market with it. So why Workspace as a service, and why now? I mean, that's kind of the critical question. There was a lot of talk about this just a couple of years ago, but there are really some major force drivers right now that are in the market that are making a big difference. So let's talk a little bit about that. So first things first, right? The amount of business that's available over the next couple of years is enormous, right? So from 2015 to 2022, the industry experts are saying that this is going to go from a $7.4 billion a year business to an $18.3 billion a year business. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's a piece that, that's something that I want to be a part of, okay? And so the growth potential in this space is enormous. And there are a lot of other business reasons why this is good for you guys, right? You'll be able to take your clients, from a client perspective, you're able to take them from a CapEx expenditure to an OpEx expenditure, and most people, cash is king, so that's a good thing for them. But also, For yourself, for your business, anytime if you might be looking to sell your business in the next couple of years, if you've got investors potentially coming in and looking at your business, having that monthly recurring revenue looks far stronger than having the peaks and valleys that you usually get when you're looking at at kind of a standard selling on-prem type equipment. So what else? What are some other drivers around this, right? Bring your own device. We see that day in and day out from end users. More and more end users are getting into a situation where instead of the employee coming in and sitting down at a desktop computer that that they've had sitting there, and they buy 100 of these things, or however many employees they have, they buy all the same computers. What we're seeing more and more of is end users come in and they say, hey, you're starting next week. Here are some options in terms of what computers you would like. You get a $1,000 voucher towards whatever you want. If you want to buy a $250 Google Chromebook and work from that, or an iPad, fine. If you want to buy a $2,000 MacBook, fine. If you want to buy some gaming computer, fine. We're going to give you $1,000. You buy the device you want. Call up these guys, our MSP, order it through them. It'll be at your desk ready when you're ready to start. We see tons of that. And the model for that going forward really has been the cell phone, because I know for me, in the 2000s, 2001, 2002, 2003, when I was really getting started with my career, I went into work and they gave me a phone. They gave me a work phone, right? Well, nobody has a work phone anymore, right? Everybody brings their iPhone or their Android device, and you put your email on it, and that's it, right? So everybody brings their own device when it comes to cell phones these days, and computers. It's going the same way. So what about cybersecurity threats, right? We hear almost every day, whether it's the Russians, whether it's whoever it is, right? You hear about big industries being hacked. You hear about the government being hacked, for example. A couple of years, this didn't get nearly as much media play as what we have going on right now. But a couple of years ago, I got a letter in the mail. This is actually in 2013. I got a letter in the mail that the Pentagon had been hacked, and basically they took 22 million packets of data with people's personalized information in there, and my information happens to be in there because of some government contracting that I did. We have they have my fingerprints, they have my social security. They supposedly got all the information, and that's out of about 35 million people's data that's in there. They got about 22 million people's worth of data from that information. So, the government's getting hacked, businesses are getting hacked. I mean, it's happening everywhere. So the more secure that we can make things, the better. And I'll tell you what, you guys probably beat this like a drum with your clients, but I can tell you every day that sitting and having their servers in their office isn't secure. With this MSP that I work with, that I'm now partnered with, they are, we taught all of our techs there to pick locks. And one of the interesting things is they go into a client now, and they're meeting with a client, and the client will, say, oh, can you go grab me some water? And the client will say, yeah, sure, and they'll walk off, and our guy will pick the lock to their little server closet. And they'll come back, how did you do that? Well, pretty simple. You think your stuff's real secure? It isn't. Disgruntled employee, a fire event, a weather event, anything can literally bring down a client's business when you've got the servers sitting in their office, not redundant. There are a lot of challenges and problems with that. More and more in today's environment, you've got workforces scattered all over the place, right? We're no longer in a situation where you can only hire the best and brightest from Pennsylvania, in the middle of West Virginia. Now I can hire the best and brightest from anywhere. If my big client base is in Denver, Colorado, I might want to hire a couple reps out in Denver, Colorado, or San Francisco. We've got the ability to have a dispersed workforce, and with Workspace as a service, every employee can have the exact same experience, regardless of whether where they're at, regardless of whether you, the MSP, has put everything on their computer or not. All they have to do is have the portal, and they're ready to go. And then obviously there's the consumerization of IT, which more and more every year, most things can tend to get less expensive, with the exception of the iPhone. Pretty much everything else gets cheaper until it becomes a commodity. And ultimately, that's where Workspace as a service is going to end up too. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 years before it's there, but ultimately that's where that piece is going to end up too. So all of these things are driving the opportunity. But as I said on the previous slide, a $7.4 billion opportunity in 2015 to an almost $19 billion opportunity in just a couple of years. Again, we want to be part of that. We want to help you guys to be a part of that. So what are some other components that made this way more feasible today than it was a handful of years ago? Well, the connectivity's improved, right? A handful of years ago, you still had people on broadband, on T1s, things like that. Now we're in a position where you've got fantastic connectivity. You've got, most companies that I speak with, the end user has great email or great internet connectivity. So that part of it has gone away. Improved streaming, that kind of goes with it. Smartphones and tablets, obviously the neat thing about the Workspace as a Service platform is whether I log in from my phone, whether I log in from my iPad, whether I log in from my computer, or if I log in from any of your computers, I have exactly the same experience. So, those other pieces of technology getting adopted are making a pretty big difference. And then obviously virtualization, that's really what we're talking about here, is we're virtualizing the Workspace and we're essentially just putting it somewhere else. So before we go too much further, we're going to do another quick little poll question. And I think all of you are in DC, but we're going to launch a poll here real quick. And the poll question is, how many fish were in the fish tank in DC? And I don't know how many of you guys actually know that, but I don't know how many of you actually counted, but we'll kind of see if anybody can get the right answer, if anybody has a guess. So we'll let this run for about 30 seconds and see how much you guys were actually paying attention when we were there in DC. 7, huh? Okay. Looks like the overwhelming answer right now is 7. See if anybody else wants to chime in with anything different and see if we can get another guess. All right, we got to get one more person to vote before we can move on. One more. Okay, there are actually 10. So there you go. Anyway, you guys were close, but all right. So let's get back. We're get back to where we're going. We're going to move on to the next slide. So this is kind of an overview of what the process looks like. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you were in DC, we'd probably talk to you about this. But basically, we've got a couple different factors, right? So you've got Waterdog, and the way the kind of components work together, Waterdog is we are the sales arm that reaches out to you, that works with you, that coaches you, we advise you, we do all the components to get you successful with the product. Then you have Itopia, as we talked about from the beginning. They are actually the software manufacturer. They're building the piece that helps do the discovery, the migration, and the management of the platform. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Then you've got Google, which is the infrastructure that everything that we're doing right now is built on. And why? When was the last time you heard about Google being hacked? It hasn't happened in a very, very long time. Their data centers, the security at their data centers is out of control. You've got armed guards at 4 different levels, and that's pretty amazing, okay? You obviously have to have access to even get on the premises, and from there to get inside the building, you have to have key code and numeric access, and if you're not an employee, you have to have a full guarded escort. Then from there, if you actually want to get into any of the server rooms, you have not only key card access, coded access, you also have retinal and fingerprint access. So nobody's getting in there. And then, like I said, there is a level of armed security even once you're into the data center. So the level of security that you get with the Google Cloud is just through the roof, and that's part of why we went down that path. Now, what happens when you decide to work with Itopia here, okay? So you've got the first step in the process, which is the discovery process, okay? That's where we give you a tool. It's built into the software. You go in, you run that at the client site, and it spits back to you every single thing you need. It tells you all the users. It tells you all the software that they're on, both line of business as well as other pieces that they just have on their desktop. Tells you what servers they're connected to, what databases they're connected to, what versions they're on for every piece of software, computer. Basically, all the information it spits back to you in our platform, in the Itopia platform, that you need to actually go to the next step, which is doing the migration. And you don't have to go and do this in a third-party tool. You don't have to sit and do it all on a spreadsheet. You don't have to go to the client site and guess and hope that you got everything, and then you realize after you've deployed them that you know, that Bob in the back office doesn't have his line of business application and he no longer has the ability to work. So the discovery tool helps you capture all the pieces and parts that you need to actually go and do the deployment. So from there, now you've gathered all the information. Now you can actually go ahead and do the migration, right? And in the migration, you'll move over all the line of business apps and you'll choose which ones that actually go. You probably don't need to move their iTunes up to the server. That can stay on their desktop, right? So you move over the users, you move over the line of business apps, you migrate all their data over, and then from there, you deploy it and you launch it. And then from that point, then you're just in management mode. And so when it comes to management, you can manage their horsepower, how much resources they need, how many gigs of storage they need, how many CPU, how many gigs of RAM, all these different things you can manage along the way when they need. And when it comes to the management piece, you can pretty much have a first-year tech do all the management. If all of a sudden they need a new user, like they've got a new employee coming in, a first-year tech can go in, create a new employee, add them, put the line of business apps that they need, go from there. They bring over all their licenses that they have already, and they're ready to go. Okay, so this is kind of the life cycle. It's really simple. Again, discovery, migration, and management. So from here, you know, there's a couple reasons why we partnered with Itopia, and really they, from what we've seen, we did a lot of research about this a couple years ago when we moved over, but at the end of the day, we believe that they are the market leader in creating workspace as a service platforms. There are a lot of them out there, but the Itopia platform is specifically built for MSPs to manage workspace as a service. When you talk about other tools out there, a big comparison a lot of times is people talk about Azure or they talk about AWS, all right? Well, those are great, you know, public cloud tools. But the problem is that those tools were really made for your client to go try and do this themselves. That's what they were created for, okay? And on some levels, the Google Cloud was created that way too. What we do is bridging the gap, and we actually connect with the Google Cloud in the background via APIs. And so you go in and provision a client, it does all the work on the Google Cloud for you in terms of how much resource you need for that client, how big a servers, all the different kind of components, and it does it automatically for you. So it really shortcuts the process and, again, makes you guys be able to stand people up quicker, more effectively, and migrate all their data automatically. So you really get a big piece of automation in there. So what are some key advantages we've kind of already talked about? So we, Itopia and Waterdog, are the only Google Cloud Workspace partners. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else has this tool, this migration tool, on the Google platform. We're the only ones, okay? So single tenant Active Directory stack management. You've got server uptime scheduling. This is a big one. You can do this on some of the other public clouds too, but you can do it right through our portal, which is fantastic. So anytime you've got somebody that's got multiple terminal servers, right, and you can even do it with one, but definitely anytime you've got more than one terminal server, once they're up and running, you can actually throttle back one of or multiple of the terminal servers or even the main terminal server, whatever, and the domain controllers as well. So you can actually throttle that back so that they're not running all the time. And you can save yourself a ton of money and increase your margins when you're able to do that. All right, so usually you're not going to have the entire company working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So on weekends and after hours, you can throttle back some of the resources, and they don't need as much anymore. And you still have the resources up, so if the people who do come in and are going to do some work on the weekends, no problem, they've still got that. But that is a crucial piece to you being able to increase your margins, okay? Automated snapshot for data retention, auto scaling, sync with Active Directory, Office 365, and then there's integrations, and we're going to be doing, right now the integrations are Zendesk and Slack, but we're going to be having more and more integrations as we go forward, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to walk through a little video, so you've got to bear with me for just one second. I'm going to pull up a video for you guys, so bear with me for just a minute. Okay, I'm just going to change screens here. Okay, so this is a little video that kind of walks you through the workspace as a service, okay, and really kind of what the process looks like. All right, so it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. But basically, we're going to show you quickly here. It starts with the discovery piece, all right? And this is just 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes long. So starts with the discovery piece, which is the first part we're going to show you. You enter in the client information, okay? So we move over here, enter in, create a client, pretty simple, add a client, add a location, whatnot. We move in and we run discovery, get a link, we run the discovery tool, okay? From the discovery tool, we put in a little bit of information here. And like I said, add in some different information, hit next. We get in here, discovery tool runs, you see a bar there, you know, takes 10 minutes. I usually say it take a little bit longer, especially if we're running a bigger platform. Once we get the discovery tool, once it's all finished, and we're kind of actually fast forwarding through this obviously, so it just goes. Once we get through the discovery tool, okay, we go ahead and pick applications that we want. We can also go back and do this later too, okay? So these are some options here, but we can actually select applications here. We figure out how many applications, we come over here, right? Now we get into actually taking the data that we got from the discovery tool and working it through our setup process, okay? So we got our integration, we got our environment, we're walking through those pieces, all right? We have our advanced settings. There's lots of different components we can do there with regard to what kind of storage device we use, things along those lines. Just kind of runs along pretty quickly, okay? So we go through this process. Now we go ahead and we have the ability to launch it up to the cloud, okay? Now we're going to go through here. We're going to pick our different users, all right? Select which users that we want to move over to the platform, all right? And we'll walk through that process, and we can actually go and affect the settings for each user. Everything's permission based, so some users can go and drag stuff off the cloud, put it on their local computer. Some can't. Different options along the lines here. And if any of you want this video, we can send it over to you so you can kind of watch it on your own, because like I said, it does move along very quickly. Here we move servers over, everything along those lines. Here we can go ahead and we can do the scheduling for when we want uptime to be. So we're just going through here, creating scheduling for our different servers, and from there we've launched it up to the cloud. So little video, like I said, we can, if any of you would like this, we can share it for you afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and move back here to my my other screen and continue on. So we'll go ahead and keep going through the presentation. We're getting pretty close to wrapping this up, okay? Some competitive differences. Again, I can send this to you. I don't want to get into the weeds of what we're doing here, but really there are some different components that really make what we're doing a lot different. The discovery tool, in my opinion, is really the big one. There are a lot of discovery tools out there. I'm sure you guys have seen those and used them before, but at the end of the day, our discovery tool is completely integrated in the system, and that makes an enormous difference because it pulls the data and it automatically puts it right into the process for you to do the migration. Okay, so also the ability to scale. There's some other, the ability to schedule the uptime. There's some other tools that do that as well, but I think that's a pretty big piece of what we're doing. So talking about some different pricing models, this isn't exactly accurate. There have just been some changes to how we're doing the pricing model, but this gives you kind of an idea. Basically, we have different packages that we go on, so your pricing is very understandable, right? So you know exactly what based on the package that you're on, you know exactly what your costs are going to be every month. And the cool thing is you get into a package, the more that you add to the more users that you add to a package, basically the more you're increasing your margin. So what we usually find is essentially for like the starter package, right? The number of users there is actually 25 users, and the number of servers there is actually 6. We just made some changes to that. But you can go and basically get your first 2 clients on that package, you know, up to 25 users, and it's included in the package. So, and then from there, the only thing you've really got to understand, and we can do this offline, and any of my folks will work with you guys, show you how to walk through the Google quoting tool. It's really simple, but then it spits that part out of the price to you, and you basically, you know what your package is, you figure out what your pricing is from Google, and there you have it. It's that simple to get to the point where you can build a quote. And as I said from the beginning, we want to set you guys up for success. So we will help you build your first handful of quotes. We'll help you work through that process so that you don't have to say, oh my gosh, I just figured out, I just got this brand new tool that we're selling, and how do I go out and be successful? So let's talk about that. Really what we like to do, we don't have to do all these things, but if we can do a couple of these things with you, you guys will absolutely have a ton of success, all right? One of the things we like to do is sit down and strategize with you so we can understand what your MRR model is, what your business structure looks like, what markets you focus on, how do you compensate your salespeople and your technicians, and really what clients do you have that are up for a refresh between now and the end of 2017? So if we can sit down and set aside an hour and talk about those things, we can really build you a plan to be successful on this platform. Obviously, we want to train your staff, okay? There's a lot of times, this is a business shift, as I mentioned at the beginning for you guys. So your staff needs to get up to speed. They need to understand. They're going to talk to clients differently, and they're going to have a little bit of a different approach when they go and they have these meetings with clients. So we want to train them. We want to talk to them about that. And we even take it a step further. We'll come and meet with your clients with you. We'll get on a phone call. Just this week on Tuesday, I went to a client site. He did a meeting. He invited all of his clients. Not all of them came, obviously, but a lot of them came. He had a huge turnout. And I did about a 45-minute presentation about what's Workspace as a service and how does it affect them? Why is it a good idea for them? And they don't look at me as somebody who's trying to sell them something. I'm just a third-party expert in the industry. They ask some great questions, and we do these things probably about once a month. We'll go to a client and do this for them. So if it's something you'd like to talk about, if it's something maybe we can do for you, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, let's have that conversation. We will train you and your staff, and we will set you guys up for success, okay? Another thing that makes a huge difference, right? You saw when we have the model, we have a free version, right, up to 5 seats. Deploy that locally, Go and start a little office within your office so that your salespeople, so your technicians, they can touch it, they can feel it. Really, we call it eating your own dog food, okay? Let them get up to speed, let them get comfortable with it, because if they don't comprehend it, if they don't understand it, if all they're doing is talking about it to clients, they're going to have a hard time being successful with it, and they're going to just revert back to selling on-prem systems because that's what they've always done. So deploy it locally. We give you a free version in order for you to do that, okay? As I mentioned, we'll help you write your first bunch of proposals, okay? We won't just put this in your hand and then send you out into the wild without tons and tons of support. And we're not doing that because we're Mother Teresa. We're doing that because if you're successful, we're successful, okay? So there's a self-serving piece to it, all right? Like I said, we'll sit in with clients with you. We'll do all those kind of things. We'll help you build your proposals, and we'll help you build cloud readiness assessments, which is really what comes out of doing the discovery process. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that. Your rep or I can speak to you in great detail about that. As I said, we will literally hold your hand through your first bunch of deployments. Usually after 2 or 3, the MSPs or service providers are usually smacking our hand away. They're like, we got it. This is easy. It's really the same thing we've always done. We're just doing it a little bit different way. No big deal. But at the end of the day, right, we like it when you put in the miles. I mean, it's like anything. Anything that you want to do right happens, and you become an expert at it through repetition. Okay, so the more of these that you present, the more of these that you go out and talk to clients about it, the more you do it, the more you use it on your little internal system, the more miles you'll get under your belt, and the better you will get with it. But one of the other things that I see from the people that are wildly successful with this is that they do not give options to their clients, right? They say, hey, listen, Mr. Client, you pay me to be your technology resource. You pay me to be at the tip of the spear for all things IT. This is the direction we're going for as a business, because it's going to allow us to serve you and take care of you better. I know in the past we've wanted to put on-prem servers, and we've told you that's the way to go, or in the past we've put you in a colo or whatever you've done. But now what we're doing is we are moving you to this platform because it is the way of the future, and we're talking to you about it because as you go to your own local trade shows, you are going to start hearing about this, and you're going to have people pitching you on this. I want you to have heard it from us first, and I want you to know that you are ready. We're ready to move you to this platform. And as a leader in the organization, you should be having that conversation right now with every single person that's up for a refresh in 2017, in the beginning of 2018. You should be actively out there having these conversations, especially if you're in a position where usually you don't get, your clients don't, if you're the CEO or you're a thought leader in the company and the clients don't see you a lot, when you go to them and you have this conversation with them, that will be very impactful to them because they're going to understand, wow, okay, I haven't talked to the CEO in a year and a half. This must be a really big deal if he's sitting down and wanting to have a meeting with me and explain to me the direction of the organization to move over to Workspace as a service. So I can't stress that enough. These are really, really key points that will make you successful. You don't need to do all of them, but if you do 3 or 4 of them, you will kill it with this tool. So signing up. Signing up is really simple. Your rep will get this to you. If any of you haven't really worked with anybody at Waterdog and you want to get signed up, let us know. We'll send you this over. You can sign up for free. As I said, we've got that free platform. You can put that third spaces internally, test it out, go from there, and we'll send you the link in terms of how to get signed up and up and running. So what do I do now? Right? Contact your Waterdog or Synex rep. I don't know if some of you might be Synex folks here on the call, so if so, you can reach out to your Synex rep or you can reach out to your Waterdog rep, and we can take care of you from there. So that's pretty much the presentation, guys. I want to thank you all for taking some time. If any of you have questions, I'd be happy to take your questions. You can send them over to me. Just click on the questions box. You can type in any questions you want. I'd be happy to answer them. If not, feel free to drop off. We will be following up with you guys shortly to see if there's anything that we can do for you, if there's any way that we can help get you up and running on this platform. And I'm going to stay online for a few minutes. I'm happy to take any questions, but if not, thank you very much for taking your time with us today. I'm sorry for a little bit of late start, a little bit of miscommunication there, but we will make sure we clean that up in the future. So thank you very much, and like I said, have a great day. I'll be staying on board for the next 5 minutes to answer any questions, and outside of that, I will look forward to hopefully hearing from you all soon.